Marry the beautiful one, father insisted, but the Duke's eyes found her forgotten sister in the shadows. When the Duke of Ashbourne arrived at Hartley Manor to choose his bride, everyone knew it would be Lady Rosalind, the perfect daughter, the incomparable beauty, the jewel of London society. But fate has a peculiar sense of irony, because while Rosalind dazzled beneath the chandeliers of the drawing room, he couldn't take his eyes off the other one, the sister no one saw. The one who lived in the shadows, the one who carried secrets in her eyes and invisible scars on her heart. Sometimes, love doesn't choose who shines, sometimes it finds who burns in silence. If you love stories of forbidden romance, emotional tension, and twists that defy destiny, subscribe to the channel and comment where you're watching from. Let's begin. England, 1814, Hartley Manor, Somersetshire. The sound of carriage wheels on gravel was like a premonition. Eleanor Hartley heard it from the back veranda, where no one ever looked for her, and felt her stomach tighten. She knew that sound. It was the sound of expectation, of change, of something that would come to shatter the fragile peace she had built in the forgotten corners of this house. She closed the book she was holding, a worn volume of Wordsworth's poetry, and pressed her fingers against the leather cover, as if she could absorb the calm of the printed words. It didn't work. Her heart was already beating faster, an uncomfortable anticipation she couldn't name. "Eleanor!" Her mother's voice cut through the air like a blade, sharp, impatient. Eleanor rose slowly, smoothing the folds of her light grey muslin dress, simple, discreet, almost invisible, exactly as she should be. She walked through the mansion's corridors, passing portraits of ancestors who never looked back at her, until she reached the entrance hall. And then she saw her, Rosalind. Her sister stood in the center of the drawing room like a living work of art. The sky-blue silk dress accentuated every delicate curve, the high waist emphasizing her perfect silhouette. Blonde curls fell in soft waves over bare shoulders, capturing the golden light of the chandeliers. She was everything Eleanor was not, radiant, desirable, perfect. "Ah, Eleanor, finally." Lady Hartley's voice was icy, almost a sigh of disapproval. "Stand over there, in the corner. And please try not to draw attention." Eleanor nodded. It was the role she always played, the daughter who didn't matter, the one who existed only to make Rosalind shine even brighter. She retreated to the corner of the drawing room, near the window with burgundy velvet curtains, and clasped her hands in front of her body. Invisible, exactly where she should be. Her father, Lord Reginald Hartley, stood beside Rosalind, adjusting his waistcoat with obvious nervousness. His eyes had that calculating gleam, the look of a man about to close a lucrative deal. "Remember, Rosalind," he murmured, leaning close to his favorite daughter. "Smile. Be charming. The Duke of Ashbourne is the most sought-after match in England. If we secure this marriage, our family will be assured for generations." "Yes, Papa." Rosalind's voice was sweet as honey, but Eleanor knew her sister well enough to detect the mechanical tone. Rosalind had rehearsed this, every gesture, every smile, every word. Eleanor turned her gaze to the window. Outside, twilight painted the sky in shades of orange and purple. She wanted to be out there, walking through the gardens, away from this theater of falseness. But then, the drawing room door opened, and everything changed. He entered like a contained storm. The Duke of Ashbourne, Sebastian Blackwood, was exactly what the London gossip said. Tall, imposing, broad shoulders beneath an impeccably cut navy blue wool coat. Her strong jawline marked by slight stubble, dark hair combed back, revealing eyes that Eleanor couldn't define from a distance. Grey, blue, storm. But it wasn't just his appearance, it was his presence, as if the air around him bent, as if the entire drawing room held its breath. "Your Grace," Lord Hartley rushed forward, almost stumbling in his own bow. "It is an honor to receive you in our humble home." Sebastian inclined his head slightly, his eyes sweeping across the drawing room with a precision that made Eleanor shrink even further into the corner. He had that look of someone who saw everything, who calculated, who measured the value of each person in the room. "Lord Hartley," the Duke's voice was deep, controlled, without any warmth. "Lady Hartley, allow me to present my daughter." Lord Hartley practically pushed Rosalind forward. Lady Rosalind Hartley, the jewel of our family. Rosalind executed a perfect curtsy, her lashes lowering at the exact moment, her smile soft and inviting. It was a performance worthy of theatre. "Your Grace," she murmured, her voice melodious. "It is a privilege to meet you." Sebastian stepped forward, took Rosalind's hand and kissed it with the formality required by etiquette. But Eleanor noticed something. His eyes were distant, empty, as if he were fulfilling an obligation, not living a moment. "Lady Rosalind," he said, releasing her hand almost immediately, "the pleasure is mine." Polite lie. Eleanor recognized it. She had spent her entire life hearing polite lies. Lord Hartley gestured to the sofa. "Please, Your Grace, sit. We have tea, wine, whatever you desire." Sebastian nodded and moved toward the sofa, but then something happened. He stopped, turned his head, and his eyes found hers. It was as if time stopped. Eleanor felt her heart freeze in her chest. She should look away. Should lower her eyes and disappear as she always did. But she couldn't, because something in that gaze held her, something intense, unsettling, almost curious. His eyes were storm grey, deep, and they saw her, really saw her, not as furniture, not as shadow, but as a person. Eleanor felt a flush rise up her neck, betraying the calm she tried to maintain. She clasped her fingers tighter, nails pressing into skin. "Look away. Look away. Look away. And who is this?" The Duke's voice cut through the silence like a sharp blade. Everyone turned. Lord Hartley frowned. Lady Hartley went pale. Rosalind looked confused. "Who?" Lord Hartley asked, as if he genuinely didn't understand. Sebastian pointed with his chin toward Eleanor. "The young lady there in the corner?" Oh no. Eleanor felt the ground open beneath her feet. She wanted to disappear, merge with the wall, become air. "Ah." Lord Hartley cleared his throat, discomfort evident. "That is, Eleanor, my other daughter." Other, as if she were an addendum, a footnote. "Eleanor," Sebastian repeated the name slowly, as if tasting the sound, and then he did something Eleanor never expected. He walked toward her. Each step was measured, deliberate, and with each step, Eleanor's heart beat louder, a frantic drum against her ribs. He stopped less than a meter away. So close she could smell him, a mixture of leather, tobacco, and something fresh like rain. "Lady Eleanor," he said, and his voice seemed different now, softer, almost gentle. She executed a trembling curtsy, her knees almost failing. Your Grace." He extended his hand. Eleanor looked at it as if it were a trap, but she had no choice. Slowly she placed her hand in his. The touch was electric. His palm was warm, firm, and when he kissed the back of her hand, Eleanor felt a spark travel down her spine, a wave of heat that left her breathless. He raised his eyes, still holding her hand, and their gazes met again. "It is a pleasure to meet you," Sebastian murmured. And this time Eleanor knew it wasn't a polite lie. It was truth. He released her hand slowly, his fingers brushing her skin for a second longer than etiquette allowed, and then he stepped away. But Eleanor knew deep in her soul that nothing would be the same after that touch. The dining room was a cathedral of privilege. Crystal chandeliers cast golden light over the mahogany table that stretched impossibly long, set with porcelain so fine Eleanor feared breathing too hard near it. Silver gleamed. Wine sparkled in cut-glass decanters. The scent of roasted pheasant and rosemary filled the air, mingling with beeswax candles and the faint perfume of hothouse roses arranged in the center. Eleanor sat where she always sat, at the far end of the table, barely visible in the flickering candlelight, a ghost at her own family's dinner. Sebastian sat at the head, with Lord Hartley to his right and Rosalind to his left. Lady Hartley perched beside Rosalind, her posture rigid with calculated perfection. They looked like a painting. The important people. And Eleanor was the smudge in the corner that someone forgot to erase. She picked up her fork, the weight of it foreign in her trembling fingers. She hadn't eaten since breakfast, Her stomach had been too knotted with dread about this evening, but now she couldn't even think about food, because every few minutes she felt it. His gaze. Sebastian would be mid-conversation with her father, nodding at something about estate management or hunting rights, and then his eyes would shift, slide down the length of the table, find her, and hold. Each time it happened, Eleanor's breath caught. She would pretend to be fascinated by her plate, studying the pattern of herbs on the pheasant as if it held the secrets of the universe. But she could feel the weight of his attention like a physical touch, warm, heavy, impossible to ignore. "Your Grace," Rosalind's voice rang out, sweet and practiced. "I understand you recently returned from the continent. How thrilling that must have been." "It was informative," Sebastian replied, his tone polite but distant. He reached for his wineglass, the movement controlled and elegant. "Oh, you must tell us everything." Rosalind leaned forward slightly, the calculated movement designed to draw his eye to the delicate curve of her collarbone. "I've always dreamed of traveling. Paris, Vienna, Rome. Travel is educational," Sebastian said simply, though often uncomfortable. Lord Hartley laughed too loudly. "Your Grace is too modest. I'm sure every door in Europe opened for a man of your standing." Sebastian's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Eleanor saw it from across the table, the tiny muscle that flexed, the way his fingers tightened on the wineglass stem. He didn't like this, any of this, the performance, the flattery, the transparent attempts to impress him. Eleanor felt an unexpected pang of sympathy. She knew what it was like to be a commodity, a thing to be displayed and negotiated over, though in her case, she was the thing no one wanted. "Lady Rosalind," Sebastian said, turning his attention back to her sister, "what occupies your time here in the country?" Rosalind's smile was radiant. "Oh, the usual pursuits of a young lady. Embroidery, painting, a little pianoforte, and of course preparing for the season in London. Mama says I must perfect my dancing before—" "And you, Lady Eleanor?" The question cut through Rosalind's monologue like a knife through silk. Silence fell over the table. Eleanor's fork clattered against her plate. Every eye turned toward her. She felt her face burn, heat crawling up her neck and blooming across her cheeks. I beg your pardon." Her voice came out smaller than she intended. Sebastian leaned back in his chair, his storm grey eyes fixed on her with unnerving intensity. "I asked what occupies your time. You must have pursuits of your own." "Eleanor mostly reads," Lady Hartley interjected quickly, her tone dismissive. "Books and such. Nothing particularly noteworthy." "Books," Sebastian repeated, and something flickered in his eyes. "Interest. What do you read?" Eleanor's mouth went dry. No one ever asked her about her reading. No one cared. Poetry mostly," she managed. "Wordsworth, Coleridge, sometimes Byron, though Mama disapproves." "Byron is hardly appropriate for young ladies," Lady Hartley sniffed, but Sebastian ignored her. His focus remained locked on Eleanor, and she felt pinned by it, a butterfly under glass. "Wordsworth," he said softly, "a man who understood that the truest beauty is often found in the overlooked, the forgotten, the shadows." Eleanor's heart stuttered. Did he mean— "How philosophical, Your Grace," Lord Hartley said with forced joviality. "Though I confess I've never had much patience for poetry. Give me a good hunt any day." Sebastian finally tore his gaze from Eleanor and turned back to his host. But Eleanor could still feel the echo of his attention, warm and unsettling, like sunlight on skin that had known only cold. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. Rosalind monopolized the conversation, as she always did. She spoke of London gossip, of fashion, of the upcoming balls. She laughed at the exact right moments. She touched Sebastian's arm twice, brief, fluttering touches that were meant to seem accidental, but were clearly choreographed. And through it all, Sebastian remained polite, distant, his responses measured and cool, but his eyes kept returning to Eleanor. When the ladies finally rose to withdraw to the drawing room, while the men stayed for port and cigars, Eleanor felt a strange mixture of relief and disappointment. She followed her mother and sister into the adjoining room, her footsteps silent on the thick carpet. "Well, Lady Hartley said the moment the door closed behind them. "That went perfectly. Rosalind, you were enchanting. The Duke was clearly taken with you." Rosalind settled onto the sofa with practiced grace, arranging her skirts just so. "Do you think so, Mama? He seemed rather reserved." "Dukes are always reserved, darling. It's part of their mystique." Lady Hartley poured herself a sherry, her movements sharp. "But I saw the way he looked at you. Mark my words, we'll have a proposal within the week." Eleanor drifted to the window, pressing her forehead against the cool glass. Outside, the gardens were shrouded in darkness, the moon hidden behind clouds. "Eleanor?" She turned. Her mother was staring at her with cold appraisal. "Tomorrow, when the Duke calls again, you will make yourself scarce. Do you understand?" Eleanor's chest tightened. "Yes, Mama. I don't know what game you think you're playing, drawing his attention like that. I wasn't—" "Don't interrupt me." Lady Hartley's voice was ice. "You may have caught his eye out of novelty, but men like the Duke of Ashbourne marry women like Rosalind, beautiful, accomplished, worthy. They do not marry plain, awkward girls who hide in corners and read inappropriate poetry." Each word was a blade, slicing deeper than the last. Eleanor nodded, her throat too tight to speak. "Go to your room," Lady Hartley commanded, "and stay there tomorrow until we send for you. If we send for you." Eleanor fled. Her bedroom was a small refuge at the end of the east wing, far from the main family quarters, as if even the house wanted to forget her. She closed the door behind her and leaned against it, her hands shaking. The tears came without permission, hot and bitter, spilling down her cheeks. Stupid. Stupid to hope. Stupid to feel that flutter in her chest when he looked at her. Stupid to think. A knock at the door made her freeze. "Lady Eleanor?" A maid's voice. Young, nervous. Eleanor wiped her face quickly and opened the door a crack. "Yes?" The maid, Molly, barely 16, stood in the hallway holding something in her hands. "This just came for you, miss. From the Duke." Eleanor's heart stopped. "What?" Molly held out a small package wrapped in brown paper, tied with simple twine. "His valet gave it to me. Said to deliver it discreetly." Eleanor took it with trembling hands. It was light, rectangular, the size of a book. "Thank you, Molly," she whispered. The maid curtsied and disappeared down the hall. Eleanor closed the door and leaned against it again, staring at the package in her hands. Her fingers worked at the twine, clumsy with anticipation. The paper fell away, and there it was. A book, leather-bound, elegant but well-worn. The title embossed in gold, Lyrical Ballads by Wordsworth and Coleridge. Her breath caught. She opened the cover with shaking hands. On the inside page, in bold masculine handwriting, were 4 words, "For the Forgotten Beauty." Eleanor pressed the book to her chest and sank onto her bed, her heart a wild thing beating against her ribs. And for the first time in her life, she felt seen. Dawn came softly to Hartley Manor, painting the sky in shades of pearl and rose. Eleanor hadn't slept. She'd spent the entire night reading the book Sebastian had sent, running her fingers over the handwritten note until the ink nearly smudged. "For the Forgotten Beauty." The words echoed in her mind like a prayer, like a promise, like something she didn't dare believe was real. She'd read every poem searching for hidden meanings, for clues to what he might be thinking. And in the margins of one particular poem, lines written in early spring, she found something that made her heart stop. A single sentence, written in that same bold hand. Sometimes the most beautiful things grow in the shadows, away from the harsh light of scrutiny. Eleanor traced the words with her fingertip, her chest tight with something she couldn't name. Hope? Fear? Both? The morning light strengthened, gilding the edges of her window. She should sleep, should rest. But her mind was too awake, too alive with questions. What did he mean by this? Was it merely kindness, pity for the overlooked daughter, or was it something else? She rose from bed, still wearing yesterday's dress, rumpled and creased. Her reflection in the mirror was a disaster. Dark circles under her eyes, hair tangled, cheeks pale. She looked exactly like what she was. A girl who'd spent the night unraveling. A soft knock startled her. "Miss Eleanor?" Molly's voice, hushed and urgent. "Miss, you need to come quick. The Duke is here." Eleanor's stomach dropped. "What? But it's barely past dawn. He's in the gardens, asked specifically for you." The world tilted. That's not possible. Mama said, "Your mother doesn't know yet. She's still abed." But the Duke's valet came to the servants' entrance and said, "His Grace wishes to speak with you alone." Molly's eyes were wide with scandal and excitement. What should I tell him? Eleanor's mind raced. This was madness, improper. If her mother found out, if anyone found out, but her feet were already moving. Tell him I'll be there in 5 minutes." Eleanor had never dressed so quickly in her life. She threw on a simple morning dress of pale lavender muslin, her fingers fumbling with the buttons. She splashed cold water on her face, pinched her cheeks to bring some color back, and ran a brush through her hair with desperate speed. She couldn't do anything elaborate, so she simply pulled it back with a ribbon and let the dark waves fall down her back. Good enough. It had to be. She slipped out through the servants' corridor, her heart hammering so loudly she was certain the entire house could hear it. The stone floors were cold beneath her thin slippers. The morning air held a chill that made her wrap her arms around herself. But when she stepped into the gardens, she forgot about the cold, because there he was. Sebastian stood near the fountain at the center of the rose garden, his back to her. He wore no coat, just a white shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, exposing strong forearms. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, as if he'd run his hands through it repeatedly. He looked different like this, less the imposing Duke, more human. Eleanor's footsteps on the gravel path must have alerted him, because he turned, and the look on his face stole her breath, relief, raw and unguarded. As if he'd been holding his breath and could finally exhale. "Lady Eleanor," his voice was rough as if he hadn't slept either. "Forgive the impropriety of this meeting. I know it's highly irregular." She stopped a few paces away, suddenly uncertain. "Your Grace, I received your gift, thank you. It was very kind." "It wasn't kindness." He took a step toward her, then another. "I needed you to know that someone sees you, truly sees you." The words hit her like a physical force. Her throat tightened. "I don't understand," she whispered. "Why would you—" "Because I've spent the last 12 hours unable to think of anything but you." The confession came out fierce, almost angry. He stopped directly in front of her, so close she could see the grey flecks in his eyes, the faint scar above his left eyebrow. "I came to this house to fulfill a duty, to choose a bride from among the eligible daughters of the ton. Your sister is everything society says a duchess should be. Beautiful, accomplished, perfect." Each word felt like a stone sinking in Eleanor's chest. "But when I look at her," Sebastian continued, his voice dropping lower, "I feel nothing. When she speaks, I hear practiced lines. When she smiles, I see calculation." He paused, his gaze burning into hers. "And then there's you." Eleanor couldn't breathe. "You standing in the corner, trying to disappear. You, with your worn poetry book and sad eyes. You who looked at me like I was a person, not a title." His hand lifted, hovering near her face but not quite touching. "When I look at you, Lady Eleanor, I feel everything." "You can't," she managed, her voice breaking. "You can't say these things. My father expects you to marry Rosalind. My mother has already planned the wedding. You're a duke, you have responsibilities, and I'm nothing." "You are not nothing." The words came out sharp, fierce. "Don't ever say that again." "But I am." The dam broke. All the years of being invisible, of being the disappointing one, of being less than, came pouring out. "I'm the daughter no one wants, the one they hide away because I'm not beautiful enough, not charming enough, not enough of anything. You'll realize it too soon enough, and then—" "Eleanor." He said her name without the title, and it sent a shock through her system. His hand finally made contact, his fingers gently cupping her chin, tilting her face up to meet his gaze. The touch was electric, sending sparks racing down her spine. I have spent my entire life surrounded by beautiful women throwing themselves at my title, Sebastian said softly. Pretty faces with empty eyes. Perfect manners hiding greedy hearts. I am so tired of the performance. His thumb brushed her cheek, and she realized with mortification that a tear had escaped. But you're real. When you look at me, you see Sebastian, not the Duke of Ashbourne, not the fortune or the title, just me. I don't know how to be anything but real, Eleanor whispered. I know. Something that might have been a smile touched his lips. That's why I can't stop thinking about you. The morning sun broke through the clouds, bathing them both in golden light. Birds sang in the nearby trees. The fountain burbled softly. And Eleanor stood frozen, barely breathing, afraid that if she moved, this moment would shatter like glass. This is impossible, she finally said. Even if what you're saying is true, my family will never allow it. Society will never accept it. Your own duty. Duty. The word came out bitter. I've lived my entire life bound by duty, doing what's expected, marrying who's appropriate, playing the role assigned to me. His hand dropped from her face, but he didn't step back. And I'm tired, Eleanor. So goddamn tired. She'd never heard a duke curse before. It should have shocked her. Instead, it made him seem more real, more human. What are you saying? Her voice was barely audible. I'm saying... He paused, seeming to struggle with the words. I'm saying that I came here expecting to propose to your sister by the end of the week, to fulfill my obligations and secure an appropriate alliance. But now... His eyes held hers, storm grey and intense. Now I don't know if I can marry someone I don't feel anything for, not when I've felt this. Felt what? Hope. The word was raw, vulnerable. For the first time in years, I feel hope that maybe there's more to life than duty and expectation, that maybe I could have something real. Eleanor's heart was a wild thing in her chest, beating so hard it hurt. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen to girls like her. Your Grace. Sebastian. His voice was firm. When we're alone, call me Sebastian. I can't, she protested weakly. You can, and you will. He reached out again, this time taking her hand in his. His palm was warm, calloused in a way that suggested he was more than just an aristocrat playing at being important. Say it, just once. Eleanor looked down at their joined hands, his so large and strong, hers so small and trembling. This was madness, absolute madness. Sebastian, she whispered, and watched something fierce and triumphant flash across his face. Again. Sebastian. Once more. Sebastian. Stronger this time. Surer. He lifted her hand to his lips, but instead of the formal kiss he'd given her yesterday, he turned it over and pressed his mouth to her palm. The kiss was soft, lingering, and utterly inappropriate. Eleanor felt heat flood through her, pooling low in her belly. Her breath came faster. I shouldn't be here, she managed. If anyone sees us, I don't care. You should. She tried to pull her hand back, but he held firm. You're supposed to be courting my sister. This is betrayal. This is the first honest thing I've done in months. His thumb stroked across her knuckles, a gentle, maddening rhythm. Maybe years. But society, damn society. Your duty, damn duty. Your reputation. Eleanor. He pulled her closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. The only thing I care about in this moment is you. The rest of the world can wait. She should push him away, should run back to the house, should protect herself from the inevitable heartbreak. But instead, she found herself swaying toward him, drawn like a moth to flame. This will end badly, she whispered. You know it will. Perhaps. His free hand came up to cup her cheek again, his touch impossibly gentle. But for once in my life, I want to choose the disaster. I want to burn. And looking into his storm-grey eyes, Eleanor realized she wanted to burn too, even if it destroyed them both. They stood there in the garden as the sun climbed higher, neither willing to break the spell. Sebastian told her things he'd never told anyone, about the suffocating weight of his title, about the loneliness of being surrounded by people who only saw his rank, about the fear that he'd become as cold and empty as his father had been. And Eleanor, for the first time in her life, felt safe enough to speak her own truth, about the pain of being invisible in her own family, about the books that became her refuge, about the small rebellions of reading Byron in secret and dreaming of a life beyond these walls. They talked until the sun was high enough that staying became truly dangerous. "I should go," Eleanor said reluctantly, "before someone notices." Sebastian's hand tightened on hers. "When can I see you again?" "You'll see me at dinner tonight with my family, where you'll be courting my sister." "That's not what I mean, and you know it." Eleanor's chest ached. "This is impossible, Sebastian. Even this conversation is madness. What do you think will happen? That you'll defy convention and marry the overlooked daughter instead of the beauty? That my family will simply accept it? That society won't tear us both apart?" "I don't have answers," he admitted. "But I know I can't walk away from you. Not now. Not after this. You may not have a choice. There's always a choice." His eyes burned with intensity. "And I'm choosing you." Before she could respond, before she could tell him all the reasons why this was impossible, he leaned down and pressed his lips to her forehead. The kiss was chaste, reverent, and somehow more intimate than anything Eleanor had ever experienced. "Tomorrow," he whispered against her skin. "Same time, same place." And then he was gone, striding back toward the house with long, purposeful steps. Eleanor stood alone in the garden, her hand pressed to her forehead where she could still feel the ghost of his kiss, and knew, with absolute certainty, that her life would never be the same. Eleanor slipped back into the house through the servants' entrance, her heart still racing from the garden encounter. Her lips tingled with the memory of his forehead kiss, and her palm, where his mouth had pressed, felt branded. She made it to her room without being seen, or so she thought. "Where have you been?" Eleanor spun around. Rosalind stood in the doorway of her bedroom, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She wore a morning dress of pristine white muslin with blue ribbons, her hair already perfectly arranged. She looked like a porcelain doll, beautiful and cold. I went for a walk," Eleanor stammered. "In the gardens, the morning air. Don't lie to me." Rosalind stepped inside and closed the door behind her. "I saw you, from my window." Eleanor's blood turned to ice. "Rosalind, I can explain." "Can you?" Her sister's voice was sharp as glass. "Can you explain why the Duke of Ashbourne, the man who is supposed to be courting me, was holding your hand in the garden at dawn? Can you explain why he was looking at you like that? It wasn't what? Wasn't real, wasn't important." Rosalind's perfect composure cracked, revealing something raw underneath, anger, and beneath that, fear. "Do you have any idea what you're doing? What this could cost us?" "I didn't ask for this," Eleanor said, her own voice rising. "I didn't ask him to notice me. I didn't ask for any of this." "But you didn't stop it either, did you?" Rosalind moved closer, her blue eyes blazing. "You stood there and let him hold you. Let him touch you. Let him look at you like you're something precious when we both know—" She stopped abruptly. "When we both know what?" Eleanor's throat burned. "That I'm nothing? That I'm the plain one? The unwanted one?" "Go ahead, Rosalind. Say it." Her sister's face twisted with something complicated. "That's not what I meant." "Isn't it?" Years of hurt poured out, unstoppable now. "That's what everyone thinks. What Mama and Papa think. What you think. That I'm just the shadow that makes you shine brighter." "Eleanor, no." Eleanor's hands clenched into fists. "For once in my life, someone looked at me and saw something worth noticing, something worth caring about. And I won't apologize for that. I won't." Silence fell between them, heavy and choking. When Rosalind spoke again, her voice was quieter, harder. "If you pursue this, you'll destroy everything. Papa has debts, Eleanor. Serious ones. This marriage to the Duke is the only thing keeping us from ruin. If you interfere, if you take him from me—" She paused, her perfect face crumpling for just a moment. "We'll lose everything. The house, our position, everything." Eleanor felt the words like a punch to her gut. "I didn't know." Of course you didn't. No one tells you anything because you're always hiding in corners with your books. Rosalind's tone wasn't cruel, just tired. But it's true. We need this marriage. I need this marriage. Even if he doesn't love you. Love? Rosalind laughed, a brittle sound. This isn't about love, Eleanor. This is about survival, about duty, about doing what's necessary for the family. She moved to the door, her hand on the handle. Stay away from him, please. If you care about this family at all, stay away. And then she was gone. Eleanor sank onto her bed, her entire body trembling. The weight of what Rosalind had told her pressed down on her chest like a stone. Debts, ruin, the family depending on this marriage, and Sebastian's words echoing in her mind. I'm choosing you. But could she let him? Could she be that selfish? Dinner that evening was torture. Eleanor sat in her usual spot at the far end of the table, trying to be invisible, trying to be nothing, the way she always had been, but Sebastian made it impossible. Every time she glanced up, his eyes were on her. Not obviously, he was far too well-bred for that, but she felt it. The weight of his attention, the heat of it. Your Grace, Lord Hartley boomed, already on his third glass of wine, I must say, having you here has been the greatest honor of my life. To think, a duke at my table. You're very kind, Sebastian replied politely, though Eleanor heard the strain in his voice. And Rosalind has been quite taken with you, haven't you, my dear? Lady Hartley smiled at her daughter with barely concealed triumph. Rosalind played her part perfectly. His Grace has been most attentive. She placed her hand on the table close enough to Sebastian's that it was almost touching. An invitation. I do hope you'll stay for the assembly ball next week. I would be honored if you'd reserve the first dance. Of course, Lady Rosalind. Sebastian's voice was correct, proper, empty. Eleanor stabbed at her food, her appetite gone. She shouldn't care. She had no right to care. Rosalind was right. This was about duty, about family, about survival. But then why did her chest feel like it was being crushed? Eleanor! Her head snapped up. Her father was staring at her with disapproval. You've barely touched your food. Are you unwell? No, Papa. Just not very hungry. Young ladies should eat, Lady Hartley said sharply. We can't have you looking any more wan than you already do. The casual cruelty of the comment hit like a slap. Eleanor felt her face burn. I think Lady Eleanor looks quite well. Sebastian's voice cut through the tension like a blade. Everyone turned to stare at him. He was looking directly at Eleanor, his expression unreadable but his eyes fierce. In fact, I find her complexion quite lovely. There's something to be said for natural beauty rather than artifice. The silence that followed was deafening. Lady Hartley's face went white, then red. Lord Hartley looked confused. Rosalind stared at her plate, her jaw tight, and Eleanor wanted to disappear into the floor. Your Grace is too kind, Lady Hartley finally managed, her voice strained. Though I assure you Rosalind's beauty is entirely natural. I wasn't comparing, Sebastian interrupted smoothly. Merely making an observation. He took a deliberate sip of his wine, his eyes never leaving Eleanor's face. And in that moment Eleanor understood what he was doing. He was making a statement, a declaration, and it terrified her. After dinner, the ladies withdrew to the drawing room as custom dictated. Eleanor tried to slip away to her bedroom, but her mother's voice stopped her. Eleanor, stay. She froze in the doorway. Lady Hartley waited until the servants had left before turning on her with cold fury. What did you do? Mama, What did you do to make the Duke look at you like that? Nothing, I swear, I didn't. You must have done something. Her mother advanced on her, eyes blazing. Men like him don't notice girls like you unless you've done something to draw their attention. Did you throw yourself at him? Did you behave inappropriately? No. Tears burned Eleanor's eyes. I didn't do anything. She's telling the truth, Mama. Both women turned to Rosalind, who sat on the sofa with unusual stillness. She didn't have to do anything, Rosalind continued, her voice hollow. He just noticed her. On his own. Lady Hartley's face contorted. That's impossible. Is it? Rosalind looked up, and Eleanor saw something broken in her sister's eyes. Perhaps he's one of those men who prefers a challenge, who finds the unattainable more interesting than what's offered freely. Then we'll make Eleanor even more unattainable, Lady Hartley said sharply. She'll take her meals in her room from now on. She won't appear when the Duke visits. She will be invisible. I'm already invisible, Eleanor whispered. Not invisible enough, apparently. Her mother's voice was ice. Go to your room, now. And don't come out unless I specifically send for you. Eleanor fled, tears streaming down her face. She was lying on her bed, still fully dressed, staring at the ceiling when the soft knock came. Miss Eleanor? Molly's voice, barely a whisper. I have something for you. Eleanor opened the door. The maid pressed a folded note into her hand, glanced nervously down the corridor, and hurried away. Eleanor's hands shook as she unfolded the paper. The handwriting was bold, familiar. I know they're keeping you away from me. I know what they're trying to do, but I need you to know this changes nothing. My choice is made. Tomorrow night, there's a servant's door on the east side of the garden. It will be unlocked at midnight. Come to me, please. As Eleanor pressed the note to her chest, her heart a wild drum. This was madness. If she was caught, she'd be ruined. Her family would disown her. She'd have nothing. But Sebastian's words from the garden echoed in her mind. I'm choosing you. And Eleanor realized that for the first time in her life, she had a choice too. She could stay in her cage, safe and invisible, and slowly dying inside. Or she could take the risk, reach for something real, burn, even if it destroyed her. She looked at the clock on her mantle. 10:30, 90 minutes until midnight, 90 minutes to decide if she was brave enough to choose herself. Eleanor crossed to her wardrobe and pulled out her darkest cloak. She was done being invisible. The house settled into silence as the clock ticked toward midnight. Eleanor sat on the edge of her bed, fully dressed beneath her dark cloak, watching the minute hand crawl forward with agonizing slowness. Her packed satchel sat beside her, a few books, a change of clothes, the little money she'd saved over the years. Everything she owned in the world fit into one small bag. Because she knew deep in her bones that if she walked out that door tonight, there would be no coming back. 11:45. Her hands trembled as she clasped them in her lap. Every rational thought screamed at her to stay, to be sensible, to think of her family, her reputation, her future. But what future did she have here? A life of invisibility, of being the disappointing daughter, of watching from the shadows as everyone else lived? Years of slowly fading until she disappeared entirely. Or worse, eventually being married off to some country vicar or elderly widower who needed a caretaker more than a wife. Someone who would take her because she came cheap, because expectations were low, because no one else wanted her. That was her future, if she stayed. 11:50. Eleanor rose and moved to her window. The moon was 3/4 full, casting silver light across the gardens. She could see the east wing from here, the servant's entrance barely visible in the shadows. Was he already there, waiting for her? What would she say when she saw him? What would he say? Her mind spun with possibilities, each more terrifying than the last. Maybe this was all a cruel game. Maybe he'd changed his mind. Maybe he'd realized how impossible this was and was already planning his proposal to Rosalind. Maybe she was a fool. The clock on her mantle began to chime midnight. 1, 2, 3. Eleanor's heart matched each toll, thundering in her chest. 4, 5, 6. She grabbed her satchel, her decision crystallizing with each chime. 7, 8, 9. She would rather be a fool who tried than a coward who never knew. 10, 11, 12. Eleanor opened her bedroom door and stepped into the darkness. The corridors of Hartley Manor were different at night. The familiar became foreign, shadows stretching into strange shapes, every creak of floorboards sounding loud as thunder. Eleanor kept to the edges of the hallways where the boards were more stable, her soft slippers barely whispering against the wood. She passed her parents' chamber, her father's snoring audible through the door. Her mother's room sat silent as a tomb. Rosalind's door was closed, but Eleanor saw the line of candlelight beneath it. Her sister was still awake. Eleanor hurried past, guilt twisting in her stomach like a knife. "I'm sorry," she thought. "I'm sorry, but I can't be invisible anymore. I can't." She reached the servants' staircase and descended into the lower levels of the house. Here the air was cooler, smelling of stone and old cooking fires. The kitchen was dark, but pale moonlight streamed through the high windows, creating pools of silver on the flagstone floor. The east door was ahead. Eleanor's hand shook as she reached for the handle. This was it. The moment of no return. Once she stepped through this door, everything would change. There would be consequences, scandal, pain, but also, possibly, freedom. She turned the handle. The door opened silently. Recently oiled, she realized. He'd prepared for this. Made sure she could leave without detection. The night air hit her face, cool and fresh, carrying the scent of roses and jasmine. Eleanor stepped out into the garden and pulled the door closed behind her. For a moment, she stood there, letting her eyes adjust to the moonlight. The garden stretched before her in shades of silver and shadow. The fountain at its center sparkled, water catching the light. And beside it, a dark figure waited. Sebastian. Eleanor's breath caught. Even from this distance, she could feel the pull of him, magnetic and irresistible. She started walking, each step feeling both too fast and too slow. Her cloak whispered against the gravel path. The night sounds, crickets, the rustle of leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, seemed impossibly loud. And then she was there, standing before him, and the rest of the world fell away. "You came." Sebastian's voice was rough with emotion, relief, wonder. Something deeper that Eleanor didn't dare name. "I almost didn't," she admitted. Her voice sounded strange in the open air, small and uncertain. "But you did." He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand. That took courage. Or stupidity. Eleanor tried to smile, but her lips trembled. I'm not sure which. Courage. His thumb stroked across her knuckles, that maddening, gentle rhythm. Always courage. They stood there, hands joined, neither quite sure what to say. The moment stretched taut between them, fragile as spun glass. Finally, Sebastian spoke. "Your family has made it clear they expect me to propose to Rosalind tomorrow. Your father cornered me after dinner with talk of settlements and marriage contracts. Your mother has already begun planning the wedding breakfast." Each word was a stone sinking in Eleanor's chest. "I see." "Eleanor, it's all right." She tried to pull her hand away, but he held fast. "I understand. You have duties, obligations. A duke can't simply choose whoever he wants. There are rules, expectations. Damn the rules." The words came out fierce. "Damn the expectations. Damn all of it." Eleanor stared at him, her heart a wild thing trying to escape her chest. Sebastian pulled her closer, his other hand coming up to cup her face. "Do you know what I did after dinner? I sat in your father's study drinking his port, listening to him talk about bloodlines and alliances and advantageous matches, and all I could think about was you, sitting at that table, trying to disappear, while your own mother cut you down with casual cruelty." His thumb brushed her cheekbone, achingly gentle. "I wanted to rage at them," he continued, "to tell them they were blind fools for not seeing what's right in front of them. That the daughter they dismiss without a thought is worth more than all their schemes and social climbing combined. Sebastian, I'm not finished." His eyes burned into hers, storm gray in the moonlight. "I've spent the last 6 hours trying to convince myself to do the sensible thing. To propose to Rosalind, secure the alliance, fulfill my duty. I've listed all the reasons why choosing you would be disastrous. The scandal, the gossip, the damage to both our reputations." Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes. "Then why am I here? Why did you ask me to come if you've already decided?" "Because I couldn't do it." His voice broke slightly. "I couldn't make myself care about any of those reasons. Not when the alternative is a lifetime of lying to myself, of being married to someone I feel nothing for, while knowing that you exist somewhere in the world, thinking I chose duty over you. But your responsibilities? I know." He pressed his forehead to hers, his breath warm on her face. "Believe me, I know. I've been groomed since birth to understand my obligations, to put the duchy first, to sacrifice personal desires for the greater good. But Eleanor, he paused, seeming to struggle with words. What good is any of it if I'm hollow inside? If I become like my father, cold, distant, going through the motions of life without ever really living? Eleanor's tears spilled over. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to choose you if you'll have me. He pulled back slightly to look into her eyes. I'm saying that yes, there will be scandal. Yes, your family will be furious. Yes, society will talk, but I don't care. Not anymore. You should care. Eleanor's voice cracked. I'm nobody. I have no fortune, no connections, nothing to bring to a marriage. Choosing me would be throwing away every advantage. You have you. His hands framed her face now, holding her like something precious. Your intelligence, your kindness, your quiet strength, the way you see the world through poetry and find beauty in shadows, the way you see me, not the Duke, but the man. That's worth more than all the advantageous alliances in England. But my family's debts, I'll pay them. He said it simply, as if it were nothing. Every penny. They'll never have to worry about ruin again. Eleanor's mind reeled. Why would you do that? Because it's the right thing to do and because it removes their objections. A slight smile touched his lips. Without the financial pressure, they can hardly claim I'm acting irresponsibly. They'll find other objections, Eleanor said weakly. Let them. Sebastian's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. I'm done living for other people's approval. The fountain splashed softly behind them. Night birds called to each other in the darkness. And Eleanor stood at a crossroads, her entire future balanced on a knife's edge. If I say yes, she whispered, everything changes. My family will likely disown me. Society will shun us. We'll be the subject of gossip and ridicule. I know. People will say terrible things, that I trapped you, seduced you, used some sort of manipulation. I know. Rosalind will hate me. My mother will never forgive me. I'll lose everything I've ever known. I know. He leaned closer, his lips nearly touching hers. But you'll have me, completely, truly, for the rest of our lives. Is that enough? Eleanor's heart felt too large for her chest. She thought of all the years she'd spent invisible, unloved, forgotten. All the nights she'd cried herself to sleep, wondering if anyone would ever see her as something more than a disappointment. And now this man, this impossible, wonderful man, was offering her everything. Yes, she breathed. Yes. It's enough. You're enough. Sebastian's smile was like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Then marry me, Eleanor Hartley. Not because it's sensible or advantageous or what anyone expects, but because when I look at you, I see my future. When I talk to you, I feel alive. When I'm near you, I finally understand what all those poets were writing about. Eleanor laughed through her tears. Are you proposing to me in a garden at midnight without a ring? Is it working? Yes, you impossible man. Yes, I'll marry you. And then his mouth was on hers and Eleanor's entire world ignited. The kiss was nothing like she'd imagined a first kiss would be. It wasn't soft or tentative or careful. It was desperate, claiming, a seal on the promise they'd just made. His lips moved against hers with fierce tenderness, and Eleanor melted into him, her hands clutching his shirt as if he were the only solid thing in a spinning world. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sebastian pressed his forehead to hers again. Tomorrow morning, he said, his voice rough, I'm going to speak to your father. Not to ask for Rosalind's hand, for yours. He'll refuse. Then I'll tell him I'm paying off all his debts anyway, and you and I are leaving together whether he grants permission or not. Sebastian's eyes held fierce determination. You're of age. We don't technically need his consent. It will cause such scandal. Good. He kissed her again, quick and fierce. Let them talk. Let them be scandalized. We'll be too busy being happy to care. Eleanor wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe it could be that simple. But as she looked back at the dark bulk of Hartley Manor looming behind them, she felt a shiver of premonition. Tomorrow, everything would explode, and there would be consequences neither of them could foresee. Dawn came too quickly. Eleanor had returned to her room in the darkest hours before sunrise, her lips still tingling from Sebastian's kisses, her heart soaring and terrified in equal measure. She'd lain in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of their midnight meeting until the sky began to lighten. She must have dozed off because she woke to violent pounding on her door. "Eleanor!" her mother's voice shrill with rage. "Open this door immediately!" Eleanor's blood turned to ice. She scrambled out of bed, still wearing yesterday's dress, and stumbled to the door. The moment she unlocked it, Lady Hartley burst in like a storm, Rosalind close behind. "You foolish, selfish girl!" Her mother's face was mottled red and white with fury. "What have you done?" "Mama, The Duke of Ashbourne is downstairs demanding to speak with your father about you. About you!" Lady Hartley grabbed Eleanor's shoulders and shook her. "He's refusing to even acknowledge Rosalind. He says he's come to ask for your hand in marriage." The words hung in the air like thunder. Eleanor's heart leaped even as fear clawed at her throat. "He did it. He actually... This is a disaster." Her mother released her with a shove. "Your father is beside himself. The servants are whispering. This will be all over the county by noon. How could you do this to us? How could you ruin everything?" "I didn't mean to ruin anything," Eleanor said, finding her voice. I fell in love." "Is that so terrible?" "Love?" Lady Hartley spat the word like poison. "Love is a luxury for people who can afford it. We are not those people. We needed this alliance with the Duke, needed it desperately, and you've destroyed it with your selfishness." "No, she hasn't." All three women turned to Rosalind. She stood by the window, her face pale but composed. There was something different about her this morning, something harder, more resolved. "What do you mean?" Lady Hartley demanded. Rosalind turned to face them fully. "The Duke never wanted me, Mama. Not really. I saw it from the first moment, the way his eyes looked past me, the way his compliments rang hollow." She looked at Eleanor, and there was pain in her gaze, but also something that might have been understanding. "He saw Eleanor, only Eleanor. We could have forced the match, trapped him through social pressure and Papa's debts, but what kind of marriage would that have been?" "A financially secure one," Lady Hartley shrieked. "A miserable one," Rosalind corrected quietly. "For everyone involved." She moved closer to Eleanor. "I was angry, jealous, hurt. I won't pretend otherwise. But I've spent the night thinking, and I realized something. I don't want a husband who looks at me the way the Duke looks at you, like you're the answer to every question he's ever asked. I want someone who chooses me, really chooses me, not out of duty or obligation or to save my family from ruin." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears. "Rosalind, I'm still furious with you," her sister continued, but her voice had lost its sharp edge. "And it's going to take time before I can fully forgive this. But I won't stand in your way. Not anymore." Lady Hartley looked between her daughters with disbelief. "Have you both lost your minds? Rosalind, you're throwing away your chance at becoming a duchess." "No, Mama. I'm refusing to trap a man who loves someone else." Rosalind straightened her shoulders. "There's a difference. Your father will never allow this," Lady Hartley hissed. "Never. Then let's go downstairs and see." Eleanor's voice was steadier than she felt. "Because I'm not hiding anymore." The study was thick with tension when Eleanor entered, flanked by her mother and sister. Lord Hartley sat behind his massive desk, his face florid with barely suppressed rage. Sebastian stood before the desk, posture rigid, hands clasped behind his back. He looked every inch the Duke in that moment, powerful, immovable, born to command. His eyes found Eleanor's the moment she entered, and something in his expression softened, just for an instant, just enough to give her courage. "Ah, Eleanor," her father's voice dripped with false pleasantry. "How good of you to join us. The Duke of Ashbourne has been telling me the most extraordinary story. Perhaps you can help me understand it." Eleanor lifted her chin. "Father, he claims," Lord Hartley continued, his voice rising, "that he wishes to marry you instead of your sister, that he's been wooing you in secret, that you've been meeting him clandestinely, destroying your reputation and making a mockery of this family." "It wasn't like that," Eleanor protested. "Then what was it like?" Her father rose from his chair, leaning forward with his palms flat on the desk. "Explain to me how my younger daughter, the plain one, the forgettable one, somehow bewitched a duke who came here specifically to court Rosalind. Each word was a lash, but Eleanor refused to flinch. He didn't come here for Rosalind. He came here out of duty. But duty doesn't create love, Father, it never has. Love? Lord Hartley laughed bitterly. What does love have to do with marriage? Marriage is about alliances, about property, about securing your family's future. It's not some romantic fairy tale. Perhaps it should be. Sebastian's voice cut through the room like a blade. Perhaps that's what's wrong with our entire system. Lord Hartley turned his fury on the Duke. Your Grace, I understand that my daughter may have encouraged your attentions in some way. Young girls can be foolish, easily flattered, but surely you can see reason. Rosalind is the appropriate match. She has the beauty, the accomplishments, the breeding suitable for a duchess. Eleanor is, well, she's adequate for a country squire perhaps, but hardly. Be very careful with your next words, Sebastian interrupted, his voice dangerously soft. You're speaking about the woman I intend to marry. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Lord Hartley's face purpled. This is preposterous. I won't allow it. You don't have a choice. Sebastian's tone was implacable. Lady Eleanor is of age. She doesn't require your permission. I'm here as a courtesy, not a supplicant. A courtesy? Lord Hartley slammed his fist on the desk. You call ruining my family's reputation a courtesy? When word of this gets out, and it will be laughingstocks. The daughter who wasn't good enough suddenly stealing her sister's suitor. The scandal will destroy us. Only if you make it one, Sebastian countered. I'm prepared to pay off all your debts in full, every penny you owe. Your family will be financially secure regardless of which daughter I marry. The scandal you're so worried about can be managed with the right narrative. Lord Hartley's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? We say that upon extended acquaintance with both your daughters, I found myself better suited to Lady Eleanor's temperament. That Rosalind, with her grace and beauty, deserves a husband who can appreciate her fully, and we mutually agreed we wouldn't suit. That this was decided amicably by all parties. No one will believe that, Lady Hartley interjected. They will if we all tell the same story, Sebastian said. And if I make a generous settlement on Rosalind as well, enough to ensure she has the finest season London has ever seen, with a dowry that will make her the most sought-after woman in society. She'll have her pick of suitors. Eleanor saw her father's expression shift from rage to calculation. The businessman in him was emerging, weighing costs and benefits. How much? Lord Hartley asked bluntly. Sebastian named a figure that made everyone in the room gasp. That's extremely generous, Lord Hartley said slowly. It's fair, Sebastian corrected, for the disruption I'm causing, and it ensures that everyone in this room benefits from my decision. His eyes hardened. But there's a condition. Of course there is, Lady Hartley muttered. You will treat Eleanor with the respect and dignity she deserves, not as an afterthought or disappointment, but as my wife, as the Duchess of Ashbourne. If I hear that you've been cruel to her, if you've made her feel less than worthy, the financial arrangement ends immediately. His gaze swept the room. Am I understood? The silence was absolute. Finally, Lord Hartley sat back in his chair. Eleanor could see the wheels turning in his mind. His debts paid, a generous settlement for Rosalind, financial security. All he had to do was swallow his pride and accept that his overlooked daughter had somehow captured a duke. I need time to consider this, he said stiffly. You have until noon, Sebastian replied. After that, Lady Eleanor and I will leave together regardless of your answer. The only question is whether we leave with your blessing or without it. Lord Hartley's jaw clenched. That's hardly enough time. It's more than enough time to make a simple choice. Sebastian's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Accept my terms, or lose Eleanor entirely. Those are your options. The clock in the hallway struck 11:30 when Lord Hartley finally emerged from his study, where he'd been closeted with his wife for the past hour. Eleanor waited in the drawing room with Sebastian and Rosalind. The tension was suffocating. Sebastian stood by the window, hands behind his back, staring out at the gardens. Rosalind sat on the sofa, her embroidery untouched in her lap. Eleanor paced, unable to sit still. When her father entered, his expression was unreadable. I've discussed the matter with Lady Hartley, he announced, "and we've come to a decision." Eleanor's heart hammered against her ribs. Sebastian turned from the window, his face carefully neutral. "We will accept your proposal, Your Grace." Lord Hartley's voice was stiff with wounded pride. "With the conditions you specified." Relief flooded through Eleanor so powerfully her knees nearly buckled. Sebastian crossed the room in 3 long strides and took her hand, squeezing it gently. "However," Lord Hartley continued, "there will be no engagement period. If you're so determined to marry Eleanor, you'll do it quickly, before gossip spreads, before society has time to scrutinize and speculate. Special license, within the week." "Done," Sebastian said immediately. Lady Hartley stepped forward, her face a mask of rigid control. "And Eleanor, I expect you to conduct yourself with absolute propriety until the wedding. No more midnight meetings, no more inappropriate behavior. You will not give society any more ammunition than you already have." "Yes, Mama," Eleanor whispered. Her mother's gaze was cold. "Don't think this means I approve, or that I've forgiven you. You've disrupted everything, thrown our plans into chaos. But the Duke's settlement is generous enough that we can survive the scandal." She paused. "Barely." The words stung, but Eleanor had expected nothing less. Rosalind rose from the sofa and approached Eleanor. For a moment, the sisters simply looked at each other. "I meant what I said earlier," Rosalind said quietly. "I'm angry, but I'll get over it. Eventually." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "And honestly, watching Mama's face when the Duke refused to even look at me was almost worth it." Despite everything, Eleanor felt a surprised laugh bubble up. "Rosalind, go." Her sister squeezed her hand briefly. "Be happy. Live the fairy tale. Someone should." And in that moment, Eleanor saw her sister clearly for the first time. Not as competition or obstacle, but as another woman trapped by the same suffocating expectations, playing the role assigned to her because she didn't know how to refuse. "You'll find your fairy tale too," Eleanor whispered. "I know you will." Rosalind's smile was sad but genuine. "Perhaps. But first, I'm going to enjoy being obscenely wealthy and having Dukes' mothers desperately trying to introduce me to their sons." That evening, Eleanor stood in her bedroom, soon to be her former bedroom, and looked around at the life she was leaving behind. The small bookshelf crammed with worn volumes, the window seat where she'd spent countless hours reading and dreaming, the narrow bed where she'd cried herself to sleep more times than she could count. This had been her cage. Beautiful in its way, but a cage nonetheless. And in less than a week, she would be free. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Miss Eleanor, the Duke is downstairs, says he'd like to walk with you in the garden. Your father has given permission." Eleanor's heart soared. She grabbed her shawl and hurried downstairs. Sebastian waited in the entrance hall, and when he saw her descending the stairs, his entire face transformed. The stern Duke disappeared, replaced by a man who looked at her like she held the sun in her hands. He offered his arm. "Shall we?" They walked through the gardens in companionable silence at first, simply enjoying being together without secrecy or fear. Finally, Sebastian spoke. "Are you sure about this? There's still time to change your mind, to choose a safer path." Eleanor stopped walking and turned to face him fully. "I've spent my entire life on the safe path, being invisible, being forgettable, playing the role everyone expected, and it nearly killed something vital inside me." She reached up and touched his face, marveling that she had the right to do so now. "You see me, Sebastian, really see me. How could I possibly turn away from that?" He turned his head and kissed her palm, exactly as he had that first night in the garden. "I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret this choice." "I won't," Eleanor said with absolute certainty. "Even if society shuns us, even if there's scandal, even if everything is harder than we imagine, I won't regret choosing to be seen, to be loved, to be real." Sebastian pulled her into his arms, and Eleanor let herself be held, feeling safe and cherished for the first time in her life. "5 days," he murmured against her hair. "In 5 days, you'll be my Duchess." "In 5 days," Eleanor corrected softly, "I'll be your wife. The Duchess part is just the title." And as the sun set over Hartley Manor, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, Eleanor finally understood what all those poets had been writing about. Love wasn't about being chosen from a crowd of beauties. It was about finding the one person who saw you in the shadows and refused to look away. 6 months later, Ashbourne House, London. Eleanor stood at the window of the Duchess's private sitting room, watching the carriages roll past on the street below. The London season was in full swing, and from her vantage point, she could see the glittering parade of society making its rounds, morning calls, promenades in Hyde Park, preparations for tonight's endless stream of balls and soirees. She was part of that world now, and yet not. The Duchess of Ashbourne. The title still felt foreign on her tongue, like a dress that didn't quite fit, despite being tailored to her exact measurements. Behind her, she heard the door open and close softly. She didn't need to turn to know who it was. She'd learned to recognize his footsteps, the particular way he moved through a room, the subtle shift in air that came with his presence. "You're brooding again," Sebastian said, amusement threading through his voice. Eleanor turned from the window and found him leaning against the doorframe, still wearing his riding clothes. His dark hair was windswept, his cheeks slightly flushed from exertion. He looked magnificent and entirely too pleased with himself. "I don't brood," she protested. "I contemplate pensively." "Ah, forgive me. How could I confuse the two?" He crossed the room in those long strides she'd come to love and pulled her into his arms. "What are you contemplating pensively, then?" Eleanor leaned into his warmth, breathing in the familiar scent of him, leather and horse, and something uniquely Sebastian. "The ladies' afternoon tea at Lady Thornbury's tomorrow. I received the invitation this morning." She felt him stiffen slightly. And I'm not certain I should attend." Sebastian pulled back enough to look at her face, his brow furrowed. "Why not? You've been invited. You have every right." "Having the right doesn't mean I'll be welcomed." Eleanor tried to smile, but it came out brittle. "You know how they talk, Sebastian. 6 months, and they're still whispering about how the Duke's plain bride stole him from her beautiful sister. How I must have used some sort of cunning manipulation. How you'll eventually regret your choice once the novelty wears off." "Let them talk," Sebastian said fiercely. "Their opinions mean nothing." "They mean something to the people who have to hear them," Eleanor countered gently. "Your mother, for instance. Lady Ashbourne has been nothing but gracious to me, but I know the other dowagers whisper behind her back. Your sisters have been kind, but I've seen how some of their friends treat them differently now because of their association with me." Sebastian's jaw tightened. "Anyone who treats my family poorly because of their association with you isn't worth knowing." "That's easy to say when you're a duke," Eleanor said softly. "Harder when you're a younger sister trying to find a suitable match, or a dowager trying to maintain social standing." He was silent for a moment, and she could see the frustration warring with understanding in his eyes. Finally, he cupped her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his gaze. "Eleanor, look at me." His voice was gentle but firm. "Do you regret marrying me?" "No." The answer came immediately, from the depths of her soul. "Never. Not for a single moment." "Then that's all that matters." He kissed her forehead, soft and lingering. "The rest is just noise, and noise eventually fades." Eleanor wanted to believe him, and in moments like this, wrapped in his arms, safe in their private world, she almost could. But the whispers didn't fade as easily as he thought. The next afternoon, Eleanor stood in the entrance hall of Ashbourne House, dressed in a pale blue walking dress with matching spencer, debating whether to step into the carriage waiting outside. Lady Thornbury's tea, an intimate gathering of the town's most influential women. The kind of event where reputations were made or broken over delicate china cups and even more delicate conversation. Sebastian had encouraged her to go. His mother had insisted she must. Even his younger sister Catherine had sent a note that morning. "Show them you're not afraid. Show them a duchess doesn't cower." But standing here now, Eleanor felt the old familiar urge to disappear, to retreat to her library, to her books, to the safety of invisibility. "Still here?" Eleanor turned to find Rosalind standing in the doorway, elegant in a walking dress of emerald green that made her eyes luminous. Her sister, who now lived with them in London, enjoying her spectacularly successful first season courtesy of Sebastian's generous settlement, who had suitors falling over themselves to court her, but who seemed in no hurry to choose any of them. "I was just gathering my courage," Eleanor admitted. Rosalind moved closer, studying her with that frank appraisal that used to feel like judgment, but now felt more like assessment. "You know what I've learned these past 6 months?" "What?" "That society is made up of cowards and followers." Rosalind adjusted Eleanor's collar with casual familiarity. "There are perhaps 24 women who actually have opinions of their own. The rest simply echo whoever seems most confident." "And which are you?" Eleanor asked quietly. Rosalind smiled, and it was genuine, warm. "I'm trying to figure that out." She stepped back, examining Eleanor with a critical eye. "You look perfect, like a duchess. Now you just need to act like one." "I don't know how to act like a duchess." "Neither did I know how to act like the season's diamond," Rosalind said with a shrug. "But I learned that confidence is just pretending you know what you're doing until everyone else believes it." She leaned closer, conspiratorial. "Want to know a secret? Most of those women at Lady Thornbury's are just as insecure as you are. They're just better at hiding it." Eleanor felt something loosen in her chest. "When did you become so wise?" "When I stopped caring so much about what everyone thought." Rosalind's expression turned thoughtful. "You taught me that, actually, by choosing what you wanted instead of what was expected. It was liberating to watch, even if I hated you for it at the time." "Do you still hate me?" "No." Rosalind's voice was soft but certain. "I'm actually grateful. That duke you married, he would have made me miserable. All that intensity, all that brooding passion, I would have had no idea what to do with it. But you," she smiled, "you thrive in it. And watching you blossom has been rather wonderful, even if it means I have to endure your husband's lovesick looks at the breakfast table." Despite her nerves, Eleanor laughed. "He's not lovesick. He absolutely is. It's disgusting and enviable." Rosalind gave her a gentle push toward the door. "Now go. Show those vipers that the Duchess of Ashbourne doesn't hide." Lady Thornbury's drawing room was exactly as Eleanor expected. Elegant, expensive, and filled with women whose smiles didn't quite reach their eyes. The moment she was announced, conversation stuttered. Heads turned, fans snapped open to hide whispered commentary. Eleanor felt the old panic rising, the urge to shrink and disappear. But then she remembered Rosalind's words, and Sebastian's fierce confidence in her, and the fact that she'd survived far worse than judgmental aristocrats with too much time on their hands. She lifted her chin and walked into the room like she belonged there, because she did. "Your Grace," Lady Thornbury swept forward, her greeting effusive. "How delightful that you could join us. Please, come sit. We were just discussing the upcoming charity auction." Eleanor allowed herself to be guided to a seat, acutely aware of every eye on her. She accepted a cup of tea with steady hands and took a delicate sip. "Such a lovely dress, Your Grace," Lady Pemberton said from across the room. Her tone was pleasant, but her eyes were calculating. "Is that from Madame Beaumont?" "It is," Eleanor replied calmly. "How nice." The unspoken subtext was clear. Dressing the part doesn't make you belong. "I was just telling everyone about the Duke of Ashbourne's generous contribution to the Orphans' Fund," Lady Thornbury interjected quickly. £10,000. Most impressive. "His Grace believes strongly in supporting those less fortunate," Eleanor said. It wasn't a lie. Sebastian had become passionate about various charitable causes, much to the surprise of society. "How progressive," Lady Clermont murmured, and Eleanor couldn't tell if it was a compliment or criticism. The conversation moved on to safer topics: fashion, upcoming balls, harmless gossip about who was courting whom. Eleanor participated minimally, mostly observing, learning the rhythms and patterns of this world she'd been thrust into. Then Lady Huntington, notorious for her sharp tongue, spoke up. "Your Grace, we've all been simply dying to know. How does one go about, well," she paused delicately, "capturing a duke's attention when he's meant to be courting one's sister? It's such an unusual situation. You must share your secret." The room went silent. This was it. The moment Eleanor could either crumble or stand firm. She set down her teacup with deliberate care and met Lady Huntington's gaze directly. There was no secret, Lady Huntington, and nothing was captured. The Duke and I simply discovered we had more in common than anyone expected, including ourselves. She paused, letting her words sink in. As for my sister, she's currently the most sought-after young woman in London, with proposals from 3 earls and a marquess. I don't think she's suffering over much from the arrangement. Several women hid smiles behind their fans. Lady Huntington's cheeks reddened. And, Eleanor continued, her voice steady, if you're asking whether I'm concerned that my husband will regret his choice, the answer is no. Because our marriage is built on mutual respect, genuine affection, and the understanding that love doesn't follow society's script. It follows the heart. The room erupted in a flurry of reactions, some scandalized, some approving, all engaged. Lady Thornbury clapped her hands together. How beautifully put, Your Grace. Love following the heart. Why, it's positively poetic. Which reminds me, I heard you're quite the reader. You simply must tell us what you're currently enjoying. And just like that, the danger passed. The conversation shifted. Eleanor found herself discussing literature with several genuinely interested women, discovering that beneath the social performance, some of them were actually quite intelligent and well-read. By the time she left an hour later, Eleanor realized something profound. She hadn't disappeared, hadn't shrunk, hadn't let them make her feel small. She'd held her ground and survived, perhaps even thrived. Sebastian was waiting when she returned home, pacing the entrance hall like a caged lion. Well, he stopped the moment he saw her, searching her face anxiously. How was it? Eleanor handed her gloves and reticule to the waiting footman and walked straight into her husband's arms. It was terrifying and awkward and uncomfortable. His face fell. Eleanor, and I handled it, she finished, looking up at him with a smile. I didn't hide. I didn't run. I stood there and let them see me, and the world didn't end. Sebastian's expression transformed, pride and relief washing over his features. He kissed her soundly, right there in the entrance hall where any servant might see. That's my Duchess, he murmured against her lips. Your wife, Eleanor corrected, just as she always did. Both, he insisted. Forever both. That evening they hosted a small dinner party. Just family, Sebastian's mother and sisters, Rosalind, and a few close friends. Eleanor watched from her place at the table as Rosalind laughed at something Lord Ashford said, her eyes genuinely bright. As Sebastian's mother told a story about his childhood that made everyone chuckle, including Sebastian himself. As his sisters debated the merits of different charitable organizations with passionate intensity, this was her family now, strange and complicated, and nothing like the cold, critical household she'd grown up in, but real, warm, accepting. After dinner, when the ladies withdrew to the drawing room while the men stayed for port, Catherine pulled Eleanor aside. I'm glad Sebastian found you, she said simply. Before you, he was so hollow, going through the motions, but now he's alive again. Thank you for that. Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes. He saved me too, she whispered, from a life of invisibility. Then you saved each other, Catherine said with a smile. That's rather perfect, isn't it? Later, when everyone had gone and the house was quiet, Eleanor and Sebastian stood together on the balcony of their private chambers, looking out over nighttime London. Do you ever regret it? Eleanor asked softly. Not the big things, just the small ones. The gossip, the whispers, the complications. Sebastian pulled her back against his chest, his arms wrapping around her waist. Never. Not even the small things. He pressed a kiss to her temple. Do you know what I was thinking about today? What? That first night in the garden when you came to meet me at midnight. His voice was warm with memory. I was terrified you wouldn't come, that you'd choose safety over the unknown. But you came anyway. I was terrified too, Eleanor admitted. I almost didn't. But you did. You were brave enough to step into the dark. He turned her in his arms so she faced him. And every day since, you've continued to be brave. Standing up to your family, facing society, becoming a duchess. You've amazed me at every turn." Eleanor touched his face, marveling, as she always did, that this man, this wonderful, impossible man, was hers. "We've amazed each other. That's the secret, I think. Mutual amazement." Sebastian laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "Is that the secret to marriage? I'll have to write that down." "Please don't. Your sisters will mock us endlessly." "Let them." He leaned down until his forehead rested against hers. "I'm too happy to care." And standing there in the moonlight, wrapped in her husband's arms, Eleanor realized something fundamental had shifted. She was no longer the forgotten daughter hiding in shadows. She was no longer invisible or overlooked or less than. She was seen, loved, chosen, not because she'd become someone different, but because someone had finally looked closely enough to see who she'd always been. And that, Eleanor thought as Sebastian kissed her softly, was worth every whisper, every scandal, every raised eyebrow society could throw at them. Because in the end, love didn't follow society's script. It followed the heart, and hers had led her home. The end